Okay, so first things first, go ahead and put your name on here. Put the hour if you want to. It's helpful on your assignments if you guys put the hour. Notes doesn't really matter. Hey, so 6.1 notes. If you currently have a phone out, please put it away. Thank you. Okay, we today are finding the axis of symmetry and the vertex of quadratic functions. So a quadratic function has that degree of 2. By the end of this unit, we are going to be able to graph these. They're all either going to be U-shaped like this or an upside down U-shape like this. And when we graph it, we're going to graph two x-intercepts, a y-intercept, a vertex, an axis of symmetry, and reflect the vertex. But that's way too many things to learn in one day because I'm not crazy. Well, I am crazy, but I'm not that crazy. So we have to learn things piece by piece. So today we're just learning the first two pieces, which is the axis of symmetry and the vertex. So in standard form, and I know some of us found this when we were looking up our definitions, a quadratic function is ax squared plus bx plus c. A, b, and c are numbers. And we saw that last unit. Angel, put your phone away. We saw that last unit when we were looking at factoring in 6.8, 6.9. I don't remember. Yeah, it was 5.9. And 5.9, we saw this form. The axis of symmetry is a vertical line that splits the parabola. So this U-shaped graph that's called a parabola, it splits it into two equal halves. So if you think about like a butterfly is symmetrical, the axis of symmetry is the line that would chop your graph perfectly in half. Tape your phone away. Your vertex is going to be that top middle point or that bottom middle point. How we find those two things. For axis of symmetry, it's always a formula. The formula is negative b over 2a. So all you have to do is figure out your a value and your b value and plug them into an equation. For your vertex, we then take that, and because the vertex is always on the axis of symmetry, we can just plug that in for x and solve for y. So that's all we're doing today is this little formula and then plug in that number for x. So we have to plug in 2 times. It's nothing too crazy. Today our goal is to just get good at this. So then by the end of this unit, we can do all of these things, but we've got to get good at each thing individually before we can put it all together. Because I'm not giving you a 5-step process in one day, because that would be crazy. Okay, any questions right now? Angel, put your phone away. Ruben, Lee, take notes with us, please. Okay, so first example here, find the axis of symmetry and vertex of each quadratic. So the first thing we've got little lines that say a equals b equals c equals, because knowing those values are like super important. So in this first one, there's no number in front of x squared. So there's an imaginary 1 there. So a equals 1, b equals 8, and c equals 7. Then we are always going to use the exact same formula to find the axis of symmetry. And you will use this for the entire unit. And then you will use this in geometry and algebra 2 as well. So that formula is x equals negative b over 2a. So I'm writing it down right there so I know what I'm plugging into. And then I need to plug it in. Negative b, the negative is part of the formula, and then I need to plug in my b value. So negative b would be negative 8 on top. Negative 8 over 2a. It's 2 times a, so that's going to be 2 times 1. Okay, Then I need to work that out. I always multiply the bottom first and then divide it out. So 2 times 1 is just 2. So now I have -8 over 2. And then -8 divided by 2, because fractions are just division, is -4. So that right there is my x value. My axis of symmetry is at x equals -4. We learned last semester that vertical lines, vertical lines are x equals, so that'll be a vertical line at -4. The next thing that I can do is that x right here is the x of my vertex. So I can just write -4 down here as well. I've already got half that answer. Good morning. Sweet. Okay. Here is a copy of the assignment. I will post a video on Google Classroom. That way you can get yourself caught.
Sorry, I can't search.
Okay. So now we are ready to find the rest of the vertex. So how we find the vertex is we substitute the x value you found, your axis of symmetry, that -4, into the original equation to find x, or to find y. So we're going to take this original equation. I've got 1 and I've got x squared. So I've got 1 times x squared. Wherever there's an x, I'm going to plug in my x value in parentheses. So it's going to be -4 squared plus 8 times -4 plus 7. So I'm taking my x value, which is -4, and I plug it in 2 spots. I plugged it in right here for x, and I plugged it in right here for x. And anytime I plug in a number, I put it in parentheses. Okay. If you do not have a yellow calculator, go get one. Mrs. Garrett, will you run back there and help new people find their calculator numbers? I wrote them on there, I think. So I want you to get a yellow calculator now because they are better at order of operations than your phone calculators, and this is what you're going to be allowed to use on a test. Go grab a calculator. Mrs. Garrett's going to tell you what number to get. Okay, go grab a calculator. That's completely fine because we're about to do it by hand and figure it out. All right, so now that you all have calculators, I'm going to show you there's 2 ways we can do this. We can do it by hand. We can put it in a calculator. Some people prefer one way. Some people prefer another way. I prefer, especially if you're doing it on a test, do it both ways to check yourself. So if you're going to do it by hands, you have to remember order of operations, PIMDOTs. Exponents come before multiplication. So what that means is we got to do this exponent right here before we multiply by the number in front. So we do -4 squared first. -4 squared means -4 times -4, which is positive 16. Then we would do 1 times 16, which is still just 16. And then 8 times -4 would be -32. So we would have 16 minus 32 plus 7. And then we would work that whole thing out. 16 minus 32 is -16. -16 plus 7 is -9. So I just did a lot of math piece by piece in my head. If you followed along with that, great. If you didn't, also great. because it's 2023 and we all have calculators. So if I wanted to do this in a calculator, I need to type in this entire thing, what I have written in black there, including the parentheses. So it would be 1, open parentheses, -4, close parentheses. You have to put -4 in parentheses, not -4. Then I would square it. And actually, there's a squared button. It's over here on the left, halfway down, the button that says x squared. You can just use that button. Squared plus 8, open parentheses, -4, plus 7. Oh, and I close my parentheses after that, -4. So you have to open and close all of your parentheses. So write it down exactly like this. Type it in exactly like this. Hit enter. I get -9. Okay? So you are more than welcome. In fact, I encourage you to at least check using your calculator if you're not going to use your calculator. But what I do need you guys to keep in mind is you have to write down what you're going to plug in, and then you have to plug it in correctly. All right. Any questions right now? I know we took a long time to get through that first example. We've got 2 more on the back, and we'll have to explain every little piece, so it'll go a little bit faster. Any questions right now? Okay. Flip this over then. We've got 2 more on the back, and then your assignment today is just this. Just finding the axis of symmetry, finding the vertex. So first thing always is going to be A, B, and C. So A is 2. B is -12 because it's -12 there. And C is 16. Okay. Our formula to find the axis of symmetry is always the same. It is x equals -b over 2a. Okay, so there's a negative in the formula. What's my b value in this problem? It says it right there on the line that says b equals, you guys. What's my b value? -12. So my formula has a negative and my b value is negative. So on top of my fraction here, I have -12. What is a negative negative? Positive. So -12 becomes +12 on top over 2a, which is 2 times my a value, so 2 times 2 on bottom. So on top, I've got 12. On bottom, I've got 2 times 2, which is 4. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. That is my x value. Okay, that x value is the x value of my vertex as well. After I find my x value, my axis of symmetry, I plug it in for x. So I take my original equation all the way from up here. So I'm going to do 2 times x squared, so that'll be 2 times 3 in parentheses squared, minus 12 times 3, plus 16. I'm going to show you how to solve it out both ways, and then you get to choose which way you want to use. I could do it by hand. So in that case, I would do exponents first. I would do 3 squared, which is 9. So then I would have 2 times 9, which is 18. And then I would do -12 times 3, which is -36. And then I still have my plus 16. 18 minus 36 is negative 18. Negative 18 plus 16 is negative 2. So if that method made sense to you and you feel comfortable with your like number sense and being able to do that in your head, do it. I also want you to know how to be able to plug it into the calculator though. So plugging it into the calculator, we do 2 open parentheses, 3 squared, open or 3 close parentheses squared, minus 12 times 3 plus 16. And get negative 2. And to be quite honest, what I do is I always do it both ways because why not use every method that you have in your tool chest? All right, last one that we've got here is negative x squared plus 2x minus 5. This one I put on here for a specific reason. What is my a value? Negative 1. So there's an imaginary 1 squeezed in right there. My a value is negative 1. My b value is positive 2. My c value is negative 5. Okay, so same formula as always. I write it down every time. You don't need to write it down every time. X equals negative b over 2a. So in this problem, my b value, oh, what just happened? In this problem, my b value is 2. So on top of my fraction, I'll have negative and my b value, which is 2. And then on the bottom of my fraction, I'll have 2a. So I'll be 2 times negative 1. And whenever I plug in a negative, I like to put it in parentheses. That's why I did that on that one. I didn't do it on the other ones. It's just easier than writing a times sign and a negative sign. So I've got negative 2 on top. And then 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 on bottom. And negative 2 divided by negative 2 is positive 1. So that is my x, and that's the x of my vertex. Okay, finishing out, I need to plug in that x equals 1. I need to plug it in for x. So it's going to be negative 1 times x squared, so that's 1 squared, plus 2 times 1, minus 5. I can do it both ways. If I do it by hand, 1 squared, because I do exponents first is 1, times negative 1 is negative 1. Plus 2 times 1 would be plus 2, minus 5. Negative 1 plus 2 is positive 1. Positive 1 minus 5 is negative 4. Just to complete everything out, if I wanted to, especially with all these ones and these negatives and not knowing whether things are going to be positive or negative, I could throw it in my calculator and do it this way instead. So it's going to be negative 1 times 1 squared plus 2 times 1 minus 5. And I get negative 4. All right, grab a glue stick. These need to get glued into your notebook. There are a lot of people who have missed 7 or 8 or 9 points on their last few notebook checks because they have not glued in their notes. And I don't like having a disorganized stack of random note sheets is not setting you up for success in the future because then you can't flip through and use them. So take your note sheet, glue it in, you fold here, and you'll be able to fold it back and put glue down this part so you can see the stuff on the front, flip it up and see the stuff on the back. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I'm going to pause or stop this notes video.